How does it feel for you when you totally believe in something and you know it to be true for you, and yet you still hold something back and you don't tell other people because you have a fear that they're going to judge you, or you have a fear that you're going to be ridiculed for what you say or what you believe in, so you keep it to yourself? Because there's so many people out there that have different beliefs and they're just too scared to speak up about what those beliefs are for fear of ridicule or fear of judgment. And it's easier just to stay quiet. And I went through this back in the 80s when I was first starting to do readings for people. A lot of our friends didn't have a clue what psychic work was, what meditation was. And I was laughed at. Basically, every time, someone said, "What do you do? You're a psychic," I was laughed at. But I never got off that path. I never let what people laughed at me about or ridiculed me about or gossiped about me about, I never let myself get off that path, and I kept going because that was what was right for me. It wasn't right for them, but it was right for me. And I found myself yesterday, I was fortunate enough, I got onto the new show by Andy Lee called The 100. And it's basically about statistics in Australia and what we believe and what we do and how we live. And when it came to my question, it was about did I believe in UFOs? And excuse me while I just open the door for my dog. So yes, I totally believe in UFOs. And I found myself on national TV yesterday talking about the blue people that I see, because I see blue shapes that are like a human shape, but they're just blue color, and they have a face, and they've been in my house, and I never see one. I always see a group of them come together, and when they communicate with me, it's like a telepathy, like it's a thought process. I'm not frightened by it, and I'm certainly not embarrassed now to tell everybody that I see these people. 20 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have shared what I was seeing with people for fear that they were going to judge me. I know I'm a sane person, and I know that they're real. And if someone else hasn't seen them, I understand that people need proof. They need proof, and they need to see things before they believe things. Totally get that. My own dad has never really, he has always said, when you die, you die. That's it. You die, you die. There's nothing after death. And all the work that I've been doing and just explaining to him how I see it and how I see spirits after they've done, because he loves me as my dad, he's accepted that is what I believe. But he doesn't believe that himself until Mum passed away. And when his wife passed away, he went through some experiences where he connected with her energy, and then he said to me, "I know what you've been talking about all these years." So he wasn't really judging me, he was just disagreeing with me. But because we love each other, he was accepting that I saw things differently. And it was when he went through it and he saw the proof himself, that's when he just said, "I understand what you've been saying." So how do you make judgment against people if you haven't experienced, if you don't understand what they're going through? So I'm actually making this video for you today, for those of you who have a really strong belief about something and you're too scared to speak up because of the fear of what you think other people are going to judge you for. I saw this experience when I went years ago. I went on a tour with a lovely friend called Pauline. Hi, Pauline. We went to a mental asylum, a ghost tour through a mental asylum in Adelaide. And when we were outside and we were looking at the building, I was really, really drawn to a particular room, like this window. And I just thought, I hope when we get in there, we get to go into the rooms, because I really want to go into that particular window in that room, because I knew there was somebody there that needed to communicate something to me. So when we got in the building, we went on the tour, and then at the end of the tour, we were upstairs, and the tour guide said, "You can, if you're not frightened and you would like to, you can choose a room to go into, and the lights are off, the doors are locked, And you would spend about 2 to 3 minutes in that room on your own, just so that you get to experience what it would have been like for people that were living in that asylum. And I got to go into the room that I was drawn to from the outside, which I was so happy I got to go in there. I'm sitting there in the dark, and I felt the presence of a Aboriginal man. And he was communicating with telepathy, like they do, thought to thought. And he was communicating that he was never an insane person. He was never mad. He'd never done anything. He was put in there purely because he was Aboriginal. So he was judged because of his colour, and he had done nothing wrong. And I was sitting there feeling so sad for him, because he had a belief about who he was, and yet he was being told he was something else. He was being judged by other people. And so when we got out of the room, the tour guide said, did anybody experience anything? And I said yes, that I had picked up that there was an Aboriginal man in there, and explained what he'd said. And then this tour guide said, well, that's quite fascinating, because only this week we've actually found some bones of an Aboriginal person's body being buried on the complex that no one actually knew about. So that he said it's fascinating that you were picking up on the Aboriginal man. And it's just, like I had a friend that she went through a cryptic pregnancy, which is, it's not a phantom pregnancy. A cryptic pregnancy is when you're pregnant. You can even feel the baby moving, but when you go and have a blood test, there is no HCG showing that there's a pregnancy hormones in there. And when you have an ultrasound, there is no baby in there, yet the mother absolutely knows she's pregnant. And they can be like that for 1 to 6 years. They can just know that they're pregnant, yet they go to doctors, and the doctors will say, no, you need to go and have assessment for being mentally insane. But they're not. They're very, very rational people, very smart people, yet they are judged because science doesn't have the answers for why a cryptic pregnancy. Is it because the spirit and the mother soul and the spirit of the child soul is so connected that she feels like she's carrying it? And then these babies actually can get born, 5 years after the woman has first absolutely known she's conceived, and no one is believing her, and she gives birth to a baby. When they go back to the doctor just says, oh, you only got pregnant 9 months ago. They will never admit that that woman could have possibly got pregnant 5 years ago, because that's abnormal, isn't it? That's not how we are supposed to do things. And it's a fear. It's a real fear of, I don't understand it, and I haven't been through it, so I'm going to judge it, and they must be wrong. Religious beliefs. People have been killed for years because of their religious beliefs. Someone else doesn't agree with someone else. If you strongly, strongly, strongly believe that there is a COVID virus and we all need to be vaccinated, that is your belief, and you are totally entitled to that belief. It doesn't matter if you are right or wrong. It is the path for you. If you are totally believe that the virus is not as dangerous as what is being made out, and you believe that the vaccines are going to be harmful to the body, that is totally your entitlement to your belief. It doesn't mean you're right or wrong either. It is the path for you. The thing that makes everybody get upset is because, one, they really want to believe something, but they're too scared to share it because of this judgment. Everybody is just, like I was talking about yesterday when I was talking about UFOs. They could have laughed their heads off at me and said, God, she's a crazy woman. I know what I saw. You're not going to convince me that I didn't see it with my physical eyes. I saw it. I believe it. I don't care if you believe me or not. And it's like that with everything. Are you scared to share what you believe for the fear of what others are going to say to you or judge you? And you know what? When you do actually open up and talk about stuff, people will come to you and say, oh my God, I've seen that too. I went through that. I've experienced that. I know what you're talking about. you're not alone. You're not alone with your beliefs. There are so many people out there with the same beliefs as you. So I just wanted to let you know, stick to what you believe. It's right for you. If you want to keep quiet because you feel like it's a lot easier to just stay quiet in a family situation where you don't want to view because you know it's going to start World War III and arguments if you start saying what your beliefs are, it's a lot easier sometimes. I'm not saying you have to speak up and this is your time. It's just, I'm just telling you that stick to what you believe because that is what is right for you. And don't get off the path. Because if I had got off the path back in the 80s, if I let everybody keep telling me that I was a nut and I can't see dead people and I can't predict the future, if I had to let people tell me that back then, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And I have brought so much comfort to people through the answers that I'm getting. So I'm so glad I stuck to my truth. So stick to yours and have a lovely day.